Alright, so this is where we're at the moment. Just take this away. So the body, I've cut this off, sanded it, put it on the spindle sander to get a slight curve on there. And then this is all going to be routed. I'm going to do white and black, I think. I hope that'll turn out well. So what we're going to do now is mount the neck and then pick out the bridge placement and then drill the hole that we're going to start with initially. The back part is routed and done. So these holes will have to be widened because I'm using machine screws into these inserts that are going in the neck, and that's what we're doing now. So these require at least 8.5 mil spacing, but that looks very tight, and as I remember it from before, it was too tight to get it in. This wood is very hard, but I'm going to pre-drill with 8.5, and I think we'll go up to 9 and then do that. As I said, I don't have a proper drilling machine. I just use my trusted Milwaukee and try to keep it as straight as possible. I've marked the depth with this, so once all the shavings are being thrown around by the tape, then I know when to stop. So this is pretty close to the edge. And also, I don't have the tool to drive this in. I just use I have this. This one is my sacrificial insert, threaded wood insert, that I'm threading the holes with. And then once I'm going in, I'm taking a fresh one and I'm gluing it in. So it's never coming out, hopefully. I really can't say never because it is possible to take them out. So can you see what I'm doing? Not really. Let's see if I can get this into a better angle. Like so. I'll just turn this front screen on. And I'll see if you can see what I'm doing. Yeah. And by the looks of it, there's no way I'm going to be able to get this in. So 8.5 mil is the size without the threads. So I think I'm going to have to go one bigger, up to 9 mil. And if I remember correctly, maybe I even went up to 9.5. But we'll see. If you're unsure about your steadiness of drilling, I drilled these first, put the neck in place, and then drilled through, so I know that the holes were initially straight. And you can just go wider and wider and wider. But don't use a Forstner bit to go wider and wider, because it has this one pointy bit, and it doesn't center itself as these typical metal bits do. So if you're widening a hole, I would use a metal bit. And go slow, don't slam it down, just let the drill do all the work. Don't put any pressure on or anything. As you can see there, it started going in pretty heavy. That's why I'm going backwards now. And I also need to tape this up. See, tape. So going backwards is a nice way to ensure that you're not destroying anything on the way in, because it'll basically just sort of slowly carve away at the wood. So this is, as you can see, I have quite a bit of clearance here. So I want to set these just below the surface so that I don't have to file them off or anything. So I'm going slightly below, but I'm staying well away from the fretboard. There I am, going backwards. Going backwards is also a good way to ensure that you're staying in the original hole, because going backwards will not drill a new hole, but it will allow you to widen the hole that you're already in. Alright, okay, so I found the nuts and bolts I was talking about. Now, my sacrificial one has sort of been sacrificed too much, I fear. So I'm going to have to just go with a new one. And I'm going to try to go all the way with this. Going in, if I can thread it. So isn't that working? Do I have the wrong bolt maybe? No, it works. So there we go. We're going to try and drive this in. Just going to make sure the holes are clean. And actually I might wax this. Just so it goes in smoother, and I hope it stays without glue. Might do that. But let's give it a go first. So see, which side am I using? Not that side. There we go. I'm gonna use this and then go in ever so slowly, making sure that it's dead straight all the time. So you can see the first couple of turns starting to go in, and this is where it might angle itself. It won't angle once you have it in a bit, but it might chip up the top layer of the neck, or the bottom layer of the base of the neck it would be. But it seems like it's going in rather nicely, and I'm going to continue screwing this in below the surface so that if I have to do any sanding or something, it won't come out. So you can see the whole thing is coming out now. Alright. So, but that hole is threaded anyway. So now this is a bit of a pickle. Now I'll have to screw this in once more, and then remove the top nut, making sure it stays in place. But now I can glue it, so that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if you can see that, but the top of this just slightly raised as I was starting to thread the neck. So we might have to shave that down eventually. Now I'm putting my trusted super glue on it again. This won't set in a while. I'm just going one lap, because this will spread around some once we're putting it in. And then we're going to loosen the top nut, which again will let us loosen the bottom nut, and we will be able to get it out. I'm not finding the threads. There we are. And go in the right direction. So there we are, nice and tight. Now we're going to loosen this nut, top nut, and then we're going to loosen the bottom nut, and then hopefully we'll be able to get it out. If not, then we have a problem. But if we have a problem, we'll just have to sort that out. Now keep the bolt in place. Of course, the top one is a lock nut, because I brilliantly thought that was the way to go. But unfortunately it wasn't. So now we're going to get the bottom nut loose. Now I'm keeping the bolt in place while I'm doing this. As you can see, it's quite a bit below the surface. So we're going to do the same with the other ones. I'm going to change out this lock nut with a proper nut. And we'll see if we run into any problems along the way. I hope not, but as things are, we might. So, tip for you, don't use a lock nut when you're driving this in. It'll just make pulling the bolt out more difficult. I thought it would be a brilliant idea, but I hadn't foreseen this particular problem. Where did I put all the nuts and bolts now? There we go. Now, for those of you who don't know, the reason why I'm using two is because if I use one, it will just sit on top of the insert and allow the bolt to screw itself through the insert. And when you have two, the top one sort of locks the bottom one in place and it can't spin. It'll spin some during the initial screwing in because it's tightening, but other than that it shouldn't move. So just going to go through this. I'm going to put my music on, my audiobook rather, and then I'll just fast forward this and I'll get back to you if we encounter any problems. Okay, so we have a little bit of lift up here where the top or the bottom of the neck wanted to come out. So we're going to scrape this to make sure it's all flush, and if there's anything protruding, we're going to glue that in place. So again, got my ultimate scraper here. And so that's what I'm going to do now. Yeah, so here we have a little bit of lift up. So we're going to put glue into that, clamp it, and then leave it to set. But before that, we're going to place the bridge so we can do some work while the glue is setting. So this is a tight neck pocket, and we need to check if the angle is all right, and if not, then we'll have to fix that. Let's see, it's a 6-string bridge. We've already measured it and drawn it out. So what we're going to do now is just check the height to see that everything's where it's supposed to be. So I'm just placing that roughly, and I'm putting the straight edge over it. So it's just flush with the saddles. Obviously we're going to put frets on this, so that'll raise it up, and also we're not only going to play the 24th fret. So just check to see if the neck is pretty straight. But we are going to straighten that before starting to this English. We're going to straighten that before we start fretting. So I'm going to put once more center line on it. And I just removed this for some pictures that I wanted to take. So we have this center line on the body that's sort of scraped in there. And that'll be sanded off, of course, but we want to drill everything before we start sanding. Because we don't want to start drilling into the finish, because that might ruin the finish completely. So once more, drawing the center line up using our center line ruler. So I'm just checking the lineup now before I'm marking the center line. And that center line is perfect. So now we're going to widen these holes so that we can fasten the neck, and then we will know that the neck is in the position it's going to be in. We're going to drill out the bridge placement. Now also, if the neck angle was wrong, I wouldn't make a shim. I would rather sand or plane just slightly into the neck, very, very slightly. I might even just use a scraper, because whatever adjustments you do in that space will affect this entire length. So very, very small adjustments needed, like a 1/10 of a degree, 2/10 of a degree, things like that. So go very, very small and make sure that you are completely stable. So these are the screws we're going to use, flat-headed. I have round head as well, which I prefer, but for the finished product. But for now, we're going to use these flat heads. So we'll measure the size of those. Size of the hole needed. We don't want the body to have to resist the threads, so that's 5.8, sorry. And then we're going to drill out the neck pocket holes to 5.8 or 6. Alright, so now the neck's bolted in. Just drilled it out. I had to go 0.5 millimeter bigger. So instead of 6, I had to go 6.5. But now it's in. Once again, we're going to check that the center line is correct. And then start placing the bridge.